U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken has arrived in the country for an official visit. Vice President Sara has been designated as the country's convener for the upcoming UN Education Summit. The rise in the prices of goods accelerated faster in July, with small businesses and end consumers bearing the brunt. And the veteran actress Cherie Gil has died at the age of 59. Fast, focused, and fearless. Here's everything you need to know to jumpstart your weekend. I'm Riza Diaz. United States Secretary of State Antony Blinken is in the Philippines for an official visit. Blinken arrived at the Villamor Air Base in Pasay late Friday night and was welcomed by officials from the Foreign Affairs Department. The State Secretary will meet with President Bongbong Marcos and DFA Secretary Enrique Manalo to discuss U.S.-Philippines relations. Now, this comes on the heels of U.S. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi's visit to Taiwan, which has been met with strong opposition from Beijing. Vice President and Education Secretary Sara will serve as Philippine convener for the upcoming Education Summit at the United Nations. As national convener, Duterte will lead consultations with Philippine stakeholders ahead of the summit in New York on September 19. Included in the discussions are the sector's recovery plans from the disruption caused by COVID-19. Schools in the Philippines will open later this month, while full face-to-face classes will resume in November. Actress Cherie Gil has passed away on Friday after battling cancer. She was 59. The news was confirmed by her nephew, Sid Lucero, who posted a tribute for the veteran actress on Instagram. Gil is widely regarded for her multi-awarded acting career, playing iconic kontrabida characters. She is remembered for her roles in Oro Plata Mata and Bituing Walang Ningning. Tributes and messages of love continue to pour in for Gil, who will be remembered for her immense contribution to Philippine cinema. Incumbent and former government officials paid their respects to late President Fidel V. Ramos this week. Marilyn Alcaide with the story.
Government officials paid their respects to former President Fidel V. Ramos. President Bongbong Marcos, a distant relative of FVR, also visited. Marcos said he sees President Ramos as a symbol of stability after the 1986 People Power Revolution.
After all the tumultuous events of 1986, when he came into the presidency, he brought calm and he brought stability to our country.
Aside from the chief executive, Ramos's former cabinet members also visited. Among them were Labor Secretary Benny Laguesma and Energy Secretary Rafael Lotilla. They both attest that FVR is a hands-on and an overall great leader.
Real workaholic. Every day you get to receive news clippings with handwritten notes. Sinusubaybayan niya kung ano mga dapat na gagawin. And he always expects that you will be giving him feedback and update at the end of the day.
He taught us also in terms of being multi-stakeholder in our approach. He was so patient listening to our people.
Other officials who visited the wake were former Vice President Leni Robredo, Executive Secretary Vic Rodriguez, House Speaker Martin Romualdez, former Senate President Senator Tito Soto, and Senator Bong Revilla, former President Rodrigo Duterte, Senator Bongo, and former Executive Secretary Salvador Medaldea also visited FVR's wake. Only government officials are allowed to visit the wake on Thursday, while groups from the business community and civil society or organizations will pay their respects on Friday. The wake of the late president will only be open to the public on Sunday and Monday. This is to ensure that COVID-19 protocols will be strictly followed. Former President Fidel V. Ramos will be laid to rest on Tuesday at the Libingan ng mga Bayani, where he will be accorded with a state funeral and full military honors. For News 5, Marlene Alcaide, we are One News.
Inflation zoomed to a fresh 4-year high in July on the back of faster increases in food and transport costs. Sheila Francisco with the report.
This karinderya in Quezon City increased their meal prices by 10 pesos to keep up with high commodity prices.
Kawawa naman kami. Walang nang pagtaas ng bilihin ngayon. Sobra. Sa mga customer na hindi nakakaintindi ng gano'ng kamahalan, parang hindi man sila namamalengke ng gano'n.
The Philippine Statistics Authority says higher prices in restaurants, cafes, and eateries contributed to the overall inflation in July, which zoomed to 6.4%, the fastest pace since October 2018. It is higher compared to the 6.1% in June and the 3.7% recorded in the same month last year. A closer look, however, shows that inflation in Metro Manila is down, mainly due to lower electricity and LPG costs. Overall, the recent back-to-back oil price rollbacks were not enough to temper the rise in prices of other commodities.
Mataas pa rin yung inflation rate doon year on year at pumasok na ngayon yung pag-increase sa jeepney fare na ito yung medyo malaki yung weight sa ating basket.
Amid high inflation rate, the PSA is also looking into the so-called shrinkflation. This is after some businesses were reported to be reducing the sizes of their product offers.
Yung concept ng shrinkflation ay makikita natin dito sa mga restaurants, cafeterias, So dito natin tinitingnan and I've instructed already our data collectors to also look at some observations.
Economist Michael Ricafort said this is one way for businesses to still keep their profit margins.
Pag tinaas mo yung presyo, syempre mata-turn off yung mga mamimili, di ba? Ano yan? Yung iba yung reaction pag makita mo na biglang tataas yung presyo. Yung burden, isi-share yung burden among the producers, sa mga negosyante, pati dito sa mga consumer, di ba? Sa general public. So, gano'n lang. Way lang naman talaga mabuti.
Ricafort says the high prices of goods could be temporary as costs of fuel and other raw materials have started to subside. Ricafort expects prices to stabilize by November this year. Sheila Francisco, We Are One News.
It's not just in the Philippines. Inflation has likewise been picking up across the world. Lizzie Burden explains what this means for the global economy in this Bloomberg Quick Take.
There's a lot of concern in the UK at the moment about rising inflation. But why is too much inflation bad for consumers and the economy? A small amount of inflation is good. It helps to create extra demand. If you knew that prices were going to be lower next year, you'd be more likely to delay your purchases. That's why the Bank of England's target is 2%. It's not zero because that would invite the risk of deflation. There are other advantages to having a bit of inflation. If tax thresholds are set and don't move in line with inflation, then if wages do increase with inflation, it means that the Treasury will collect more tax revenues. Also, if inflation is rising, then public debt as a share of GDP shrinks, helping to control the public finances. That was the story after the Second World War. But sometimes inflation can grow too fast. That means it's hard for businesses to set the right prices. And there's also a cost of changing prices. Just imagine being a restaurant owner having to tinker with the menus. High inflation also means that investment now will generate lower returns in future. This is what happened in the 1970s. High inflation meant that companies invested less, harming UK productivity and crashing the structural capacity of the UK economy. Hence, Britain was known as the sick man of Europe. For consumers too, it's harder to plan spending. And when price growth outstrips wage growth, it means that people have less to spend on the things they want and need. The value of people's savings also falls. If inflation gets so high that the Bank of England responds aggressively by hiking interest rates, then the effect can be that people consume less, holding back economic growth. But if people don't trust that the central bank can tame inflation, they may start demanding higher wages. To pay for higher wages, their employers may start charging higher prices, and it can be difficult to end the wage price spiral. All in all, the ideal scenario is consistent low inflation.
And those are the top stories of the hour. Join us later at 9 in the morning as we continue to monitor the day's biggest stories. You can also catch one news on Signal Play app. Register for a free account now at www.signalplay.com and stream One News live anytime, anywhere. I'm Riza Diaz. Mask on, wash hands, and stay safe, Philippines. We are One News.